Hello and welcome. In this week's exciting episode, we make the beaded trim for this velvet jacket with a woven flower motif. I was going to do a straightforward beaded trim, but then I came across these flowers and there was no going back. So yeah, it took an excruciating long time making this trim, but I don't know, I think it's worth it. It's adorable. Okay, now I shall show you step by step how it was done. In the first half of doing the beading, I do try to do it the simple way. It's just that I then go and get some more beads, and that's when the flowers enter the picture and I get a little bit, well, okay, very carried away. So the first half of me making the beaded trim, yeah, you could follow those steps and easily just end up with something quite simple and yeah, straightforward to make. So yeah, the first half is useful at least. Enjoy. Quite a few of you have said that you love the beaded trim, but the ones I've made, this one and the peach and raspberry one, are quite ambitious, and you were wondering if I could make something, show you how to make something more achievable. So just with some beads and some sequins that you feel that you could wear every day and actually complete and make yourself. So with this one, yeah, we're sort of going for, I mean, it's still kind of over the top and pretty fabulous, but we'll just go for something that's a little more straightforward and featuring less complex pieces. First, you need to get yourself a frame that you can work on. I mean, I have seen videos where people make beaded brooches or little beaded trinkets, and they just use an embroidery hoop or they do it freehand. But when you're making an entire piece of beaded trim, it's just so time consuming and frustrating to do it freehand. It's so much easier to just use a staple gun and just staple a few layers of netting to a frame and work on the solid base. I did, for my first few jackets, I did make them just freehand, and it's just it takes so much longer and it's so frustrating. And if you value your time and sort of work out how much you'd pay yourself to make it, actually cheaper to buy yourself a cheap frame from a dollar store or a craft store and yeah, work on the frame. It takes so much less time. I wish someone had told me that when I first started. Okay, netting staple gun to frame, not too tight and not too loose. Then you need to make a template for your sequin base. So as you can see, this beaded trim is sitting right on the edge of the jacket, whereas with this one it's a little step in. So obviously this one is going to have a larger piece of trim because it goes all the way out to every edge, whereas this one is, because it's stepped in, it effectively makes the whole piece shorter. So yeah, just work out your measurements and make a template. So this is an old template that I have, so I'm just going to use that to pin onto here and see what changes I need to make to this template for my new latest jacket. But if you don't, obviously you won't have that. So when you made your frame, you just had to trim the edges and tidy them, and there'll be a few offcuts. So just well, however wide you want your beaded trim, 1 inch or 2 inch, just cut a long strip in the width that you want and then pin it to your jacket. So pin it around there, down the front, and then right around the back. And also you need bits for the cuff. That way you can just make a mock-up, like a template, and then once you've got the measurements of what you need, then what I do is just trace the template onto a bit of tissue paper, and then I just pin the whole piece of tissue paper to my frame, and I just do the beading onto that. Okay, I finished the sequin base for the body of the jacket. I've just got the cuffs to go. So this is what I mean by I just pin the tracing paper on, tissue paper on, and the left and the right cuffs, and then I use a pin and just sort of run it along most of the inside part and take that out. And then I find it easier just to leave a little bit, and that way you can line up your sequin exactly on the line, and just that little bit of white helps you get straighter. And then I just pull away the excess tissue paper, and yeah, most of it comes away in one big bit, but then you just have to pull out the tiny little bits. There's one bit there, and I think there was another bit somewhere. Yeah, so I'll just finish these, and then it'll be time to choose the beads. Okay, so here's the selection of beads. I've got some dark red ones and also some of that brighter red. I really don't like mixing dark red and bright red, so I think and this is quite bright, so I think I'll go with just the brighter reds, but also bright red glass beads, and when they're on black they sort of will give it more depth. It will look like there's some darker ones in there without there's sort of being that color matching problem. And I also got some bigger beads. Normally I would absolutely use these gorgeous cubes, but I used them in the purple Italian tweed, and I don't like to use the same bead twice too soon after each other. So I think I'll go with those squished oval ones instead, and some other red ones. These are black glass beads with sort of metallic red painted on them, and got some hearts and some flowers. So I thought, because it's nearly Valentine's Day, I might do a hearts, and because this has flowers in it, I might do a hearts and flowers theme. So yeah, I think the bright red pearls, glass pearls, are a little bit too garish. I don't think I'll use them, but I do have some skulls, so I might use them. Those ones are ceramic ones, and the other ones are just sort of heavy plastic ones. So yeah, I do have a couple of bead clusters, so I might sneak them in. And I also have some black little bluebell type flowers, lots of different red seed beads, so I'll use them at the end to fill in. I do have these really dark red in the bugle bead, and I think that will go well. It will come off as, once it's in with the other beads, I think it will come off as black with just the sort of suggestion of a deeper red, so I think I'll put them in. And I also have some black beads, they're heavy glass ones, and because the strip of beaded trim is so thin, I do think I need to use quite a few glass beads just to get its weight up. So yeah, I think these are the ones that I will use. Not the dark red, but everything else. I've taken out the ones I won't be using. These are all the ones I will. Okay, and I've divided them into groups. So these are the heavy and large. They go down first. And it's best to do the heavy and large ones first, just so you get the weight distribution right. and yeah, otherwise your jacket won't be balanced, the weight, and it'll be horrible to wear and you'll never end up wearing it. So yeah, I keep all the big and heavy ones to one side just to make sure everything is balanced, and then once they're on, I'll do the sort of add a little bit more weight if I have to with these medium-sized ones, and then it's time to do all the fun stuff, all the beautiful flowers, and I'll do runs of those and maybe some of the skulls and the hearts, and then I'll fill in some more seed beads and bugle beads as required. So first up, we'll do place all the big and large ones around, and yeah, just get the placement right before I attach anything.
So I'm about halfway through that first layer, and it's coming along. There's still a few threads that I haven't pulled through. I tend to tie my threads off on the top and then use a wool needle to pull them all through, and that way they just sort of stay through and everything stays tied and secure. So yeah, I'm using quite a lot of beads, and it's quite heavy. It's good. It's a bit slow, but it's quite thorough. So I'm quite happy with this layer so far, and I've still got loads to do, so I'll get on with it. I do think these look a bit funny with the two bits of thread securing them, but it was the only way to sort of secure them properly, and I think I might maybe put flowers on top or sequin, so it will obscure the thread a little, and run some rows of small beads over the top of them. I think it was the best option for such a big bead. So yeah, I shall now continue doing the rest of the main bit, and I also have the two cuffs to do. Okay, I finished that layer and it's all done. I sort of left out some of the really big bits. I felt like these ones, the glass ones, were too orange, and I only have one of that big flowery bit. And this is plastic, but yeah, it just didn't suit, so I think I might just use it as a brooch. Once I've put the beading on, I'll see if it suits. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. The dark red are looking very dark at the moment, but I'll be putting more black beads and in there, so it'll balance it out. But yeah, I really like this. It's weird. I've put the frame up on the sideboard, and it's the middle of the day, but this is kind of what the glass beads and the plastic beads are going to look like at night. You sort of lose the color of the glass ones, and the dark and the big plastic ones take on a really, really nice, they pick up the indirect sunlight or artificial light really well. Whereas in my workbench, when it was lying down there, you might have noticed in the last footage, yeah, the glass beads just take on a beautiful, they refract the light, the natural sunlight gorgeously, and they sort of have they look like cranberry juice. It's just the most beautiful color, and you can see right through them, whereas the big ones look a little washed out. So yeah, I like the mix of beads that I used. It's gonna look, some beads are just gonna look magnificent during the day, and others are going to look pretty special at night. So it's a good mix. Yeah, I really like those glass ones and the what they look like during the day. like in natural sunlight. It's beautiful. Okay, so this is the big heavy layer, and now I don't think I need to add more weight, so I'm sort of going to go a little thin on the ground with the medium size ones, and I might get the all the flowers out now and start putting them in, because there's already quite a lot of weight in this. So I'm happy with the amount of coverage and the general balance of the piece. So I might just start adding the fun bits now. I forgot how much easier it is doing a thin strip of beading. When you use bead clusters and a really complex mix of extra large, large, medium and small, it's just so much. There's so much more thinking and mathematics that go into it. But with this one, it's kind of like, okay, one and almost done. So now I just have to add the fun stuff. So here I go. Okay, I've divided my flowers up into 4 lots. So left side, right side, the long bit at the back, and I'll divide this up in half, and that can be the 2 cuffs. So yeah, it's not many flowers, but hopefully if I use them well, they'll make an impact. So I'll start putting them on now. Now I know I said that I was going to make something simple and basic and easy to follow, but oh, these flowers are just so much fun to work with. They are adorable, and I just don't have the heart to undo it and do something average. They're so cute. I love them. There's even some leaves in here, some metallic leaves. Sort of can't see them. They're standing upright. Once they're on the jacket, and it goes around the cuff, you'll be able to see them better. You sort of, when you're doing the cuffs, you have to put extra stuff in so that once it's cut off the backing and laid round, then it all sort of fans out and you can finally see everything. But, oh, it's so cute. But if you do just want to do a sort of more classic conservative looking one, then all you have to do is just use beads to fill in all the gaps, and that would look quite lovely. But just because the velvet fabric that I've used to make the jacket has those beautiful flowers woven into them, I just thought this was such a good opportunity to use up. I mean, where else are you going to use red flowers? I bought them because they were so unusual, and yeah, this is just so perfect. Okay, but yeah, so if you just want a conservative, or well, it's pretty bling actually, you just once you've done your bottom layer, then you just, I've got some plastic ones, and well, actually most of those are glass, but some of them are a bit smaller, and what you could do is just sort of weave them in between, sew them in between, and that would be a perfectly respectable, well, a little blingy, but it would be a perfectly fabulous beaded trim. But yeah, I'm going to go on with the excessive garden beds because I just think they're adorable, and they're such a perfect match for this jacket. Some of you have been asking where I get my beads. I don't buy anything for the projects I'm filming and making. I'm just using up stuff that I have. I've been collecting beads since I was a kid, and I've lived in lots of different countries, and just go to the local shops in your city, or if that's not possible because of the pandemic, Then there's Etsy and eBay, basically support small businesses, and stores that are sort of have questionable sweatshop policies, like Zara. I once went in there, and on the sales rack they had a couple of beaded skirts that were, because they'd been made so quickly, they'd totally fallen apart. But it was like, I think they were $20 each, the skirts that I bought, and they were just covered in beads, and there was a little bag with them of all the beads that had fallen off. So I mean, there's lots of different ways you can, affordable ways to build up a stock of beads that you can then use. So yeah, get creative. Or if you have any beaded dresses, formal dresses that you only wore once or twice and you're never going to wear again, just take the beads off them and use those. I think it's better to just use what you find rather than go out and purchase, a few $100s worth of beads just for one project. Okay, I'm still going with the flowers, and I've done a pretty good covering of everywhere. It's looking pretty good. There's a section there that I need to go back to, but it's looking pretty good. I just had to stop and get out more flowers and leaves. I've actually got a lot of red leaves, and I thought this is a perfect chance to use them up. I also have some black flowers and leaves. So yeah, I'm just going to go back and even everything out and add some more in there. I even found some of my antique, the sort of a maple leaf. So yeah, I shall just keep adding. I think this one I got a bit carried away with the height, so I might cut that out and tie the threads off and just rethread it on the slightly shorter stack of beads. But the rest I think is pretty good. Well, adorable, but good enough to be going on with. So yeah, that's what I'm up to at the moment. It is finished. Yay! And this is all that remains of those 2 trays of sequin and beads. Well, I put some of the larger glass beads away, but I did pretty much use all the sequins that I had got out. It is a little over the top, very over the top, but it was just so much fun to make. It is difficult. You sort of have to thread, you can see here, you sort of thread your needle through either a long series of seed beads or a bugle bead, and then you sort of balance a series of sequins and beads on top, and then you hold them in place with one bead, and then you have to try and thread your needle and thread right back down through everything. And you have to maintain the tension, otherwise it all just sort of falls down and doesn't stay in place. So it is extremely complicated, and you have to really get a rhythm going. But when it works, it's just spectacular. I mean, I'm not being, facetious. I'm just saying, as someone who likes creating things, when it works, like when you if you play the piano and you just play the piece with the emotional and emotions and the technical precision with which it's supposed to be performed, and you're like, I was in the zone. That's what I mean when I say it worked out really well. I'm just really happy with it. Oh, and I had this gosh, I can't even remember when I bought it. This you see in there, it's a red glass cicada, and he's burrowing into the ground. He's trying to get through the thick of the flowers, and he's trying to get into the ground. Isn't that cool? I was going to save it because in May there's a National Scavenger Hunt Day, and I was going to make a I've got a Chanel jacket that's the tweed is multicolored, and I was just going to make a trim for it and just put like all different toys and dinosaurs and rare beads in there, and I was saving the cicada for that, or cicada, however you say it, and I say cicada. And yeah, I thought, no, this is such a perfect opportunity. I'll put him in this. So yeah, you can borrow into the jacket for 7 years. Don't they live for 7 years or 17 years or something? Anyway, I'm very happy with this, and I think it's going to go remarkably well with this really beautiful stylized floral pattern woven into the velvet. So now, the next step's always a bit daunting. I have to cut the beaded trim off the frame and just fix the backing and then attach it to the jacket. So we'll just sort of quickly walk you through those steps. The beaded trim has been cut off the frame. Now I just have to pin this large piece to the jacket and match up those center seams. But the cuffs, all I had to do with those was turn under the excess backing and stitch it down. So that one's pinned, and this one's already been pinned and stitched. So yeah, this is what they're both going to end up looking like. And that one is ready to be pinned onto the jacket. So we will just join the back of the torso first. Okay, it's pinned on. I've had to leave quite a bit of the backing net just because once you cut your beaded trim off the frame, it's incredibly fragile until you pin it, secure it onto the jacket, just because the nature of the beast, it's just really fragile unless supported, and then it's fine. So yeah, it's hard to tell what it looks like because I can't cut the netting more than I have, but it's fine, and it's better than fine. It's adorable. But yeah, so it fits well, and now we'll just turn it around so you can see the join. Here we have the join of the two pieces. This is one of those awesome ones where you don't have to fill in the join. The pieces match perfectly, touch wood. So I've pinned them, and now I just have to stitch the two pieces together and make sure they're secure. Now that the back center is joined, it's time to trim down the excess backing, fold it down and stitch it. And make sure you cut notches into all your curves so that when you pin it back, it sits properly. There we go, done. And now that I've stitched them all down, it's time to pin this onto the jacket and sew them all on. Okay, I've just sort of stabbed the pins in to get it all in the right place. Now I have to go back and pin it properly and then stitch it all down. Hours of fun. And there we have it, the finished jacket. Oh my gosh, I am so over this. Sewing this on is just incredibly complicated. I would definitely recommend you leave yourself a week between finishing the beading and then having to stitch it on, because you have to do 3 rows of stitches right around the entire thing, and to get it through all the layers you need to use extremely sharp needles, and my poor fingers are just revolting. Revolting as in no
don't prick me one more time. But it does look lovely. It does look really, really beautiful. It matches the jacket so well. So I just don't feel like the finished product is worth the pain at this precise moment. But that is the finished jacket, and I'll just show you the cicada. There it is. He's still burrowing into the ground. So yeah, there we go. Spend years collecting beads and find the perfect velvet or tweed to match them with, and then make yourself a beaded trim to go on your Chanel style jacket. Thank you for watching.